Let's talk about the historical battle that Gojo tells Megumi about, where a limitless Six Eyes user like himself faced off against a Ten Shadows user like Megumi to the death. Here's the panel in question for anybody that's interested. Gojo is using this as a teaching moment. He's trying to gas Megumi up to give him the motivation he needs to realize his potential. He's saying that somebody with the Ten Shadows can reach the same heights as me, a limitless Six Eyes user. And again, he references this historical battle where the two of those people actually killed each other. So I got asked, what do I think happened in that ancient battle? Well, I'll tell you what happened. Mahoraga happened. That seems to be the only clean answer that could explain why both the limitless Six Eyes user and the Ten Shadows user passed away. He must have summoned Mahoraga in a last-ditch effort to try and get the W, meaning Mahoraga wasn't tamed. So both the Six Eyes user and the Ten Shadows user were drug into the subjugation ritual, and Mahoraga cleaned up. Now, I know that answer won't sit comfortably for some of you because it's hard to imagine a limitless Six Eyes user not being able to deal with Mahoraga, and that's because our only experience with limitless Six Eyes users is Gojo. And Gojo is built different. He is the honored one. Just because he is capable of something does not mean all of the others are. Now, granted, a limitless Six Eyes user is going to be supremely powerful, but that doesn't mean they were all on Gojo's level. I'm of the belief that Gojo is the strongest limitless Six Eyes user ever, and that's because he's him. And I honestly believe Gojo, even without using his curse technique, can beat everyone in the verse not named Sukuna, and that's because his talents extend beyond the gifts of his birth. I think he really is just that built different. So, this previous Six Eyes Limitless user just wasn't on his level. So the way I see it, I think this ancient limitless Six Eyes user just never awakened in the same way Gojo did, which would mean he never learned RCT, never learned red or purple. And if you don't have purple or at least red to try to deal with Mahoraga, you're just going to be toast, because blue is going to have a really hard time just completely obliterating Mahoraga in one go, especially considering the fact that Mahoraga would be adapting to blue from the moment it entered the battlefield thanks to the infinity, right? Now, even if this ancient sorcerer had domain expansion, I don't think that's going to get the job done, because yes, assuming it works in the same way Gojo's does, which presumably it probably wouldn't, but it would probably be similar. Anyway, assuming Mahoraga is affected by unlimited void, its brain is overloaded, that doesn't just wipe him out, that incapacitates him, right? And Mahoraga will slowly be adapting to that infinite void as soon as it starts. So you have to still destroy him completely while he's incapacitated, or else it's going to be curtains. And again, without red or purple, that ancient sorcerer is going to have a really hard time getting rid of Mahoraga. So I think that's most likely what happened. This guy just wasn't on the same level as Gojo and didn't have the toolkit to deal with Mahoraga. And while we're on the subject of Gojo, I have a few other questions here revolving around him, and this first one wants to know how Gojo essentially has telekinesis with his abilities, and he does so with infinity. If you think about the attractive forces of blue and the repulsive forces of red, Gojo can basically manipulate anything in the world around him as if he had telekinesis. For example, assume there is a cup 30 feet away from me that I want. If I put a negative infinity between me and that cup, it is going to be attracted toward me, pulled toward me. So with Gojo's use of the Six Eyes, giving him that, mega brain computer essentially, he is able to manipulate infinities all around him that basically emulate telekinesis. I was also asked how strong I think Gojo would be if he didn't have the Six Eyes. And if you recall, earlier I said even without his curse technique, he could probably still beat most people in the verse. However, if you take away just his Six Eyes, he's going to be way weaker. Those are what enable him to be such a demon, in my opinion. So there is some argument to be made for, since he spent most of his life with the Six Eyes, could he kind of fake any of it from what he had learned in the past? And I think to a very small percent he could do that, but for the most part, he is going to be so nerfed compared to where he was. So he would still exist, he'd still be really strong, but nowhere near where he was. And then finally, I was asked this hypothetical on what if Kinjaku was in Gojo's body. And this is something I've been asked before, but my stance on this is that a Kinjaku Six Eyes Limitless user would not be as powerful as Gojo. And that's because simply Gojo has a lifetime of experience learning and dealing and adapting with the Six Eyes and using that for the Limitless. Kinjaku, it would all be completely new to him. Could he use it? Sure. Would he eventually master it? Sure, but I think, you just take him face value, Gojo would be able to slam. And that also speaks to just Gojo's innate talent. Not that Kinjaku isn't, but I'm taking Gojo in that one-on-one. Anyways, y'all, that's going to do it for this one. Special shout out to Velo, Zachary, Quinn, and Swifty, whose questions inspired this video. Thank you for the support. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon.